Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna cover lesson 1 3 in this video, and I would like to start with a warm-up question. Find x squared equals -1. So as you see, we are looking for a number that is squared is negative number. So we know that there is no number that squared is negative numbers. Like all numbers, if you square them, you have to get something positive. So that's why we need a new kinds of numbers, and that's why I'm gonna introduce you new numbers today. So to solve this one, I'm gonna square root the both sides first, and these two will cancel each other. I got that x equals square root of -1, and you should say that, oh, this is undefined. This is not this one. It's not a real number. That's why we're gonna work with complex numbers. So complex numbers I is square root of -1. We should know these two things, everyone. I square should be equal -1 and I should be equal to square root of -1. And this is the general form of complex numbers. A is the real part and B is the imaginary part. And I would like to jump to my first example. First of all, we're gonna write those in a complex number. So, as you've seen, square root of negative number. So, this is not a real number. That's why we should write as a complex number. I'm going to do this. So, this one I can write like this, right? 16 times -1. Right? And I'm going to separate them. Square root of 16 times square root of -1. Oh, right now I know this one. Square root of 16 was 4. And I just learned this one, square root of -1 was I. So answer of A should be 4I. That's my first answer. Let's have a look at the second one right now. Square root of 70. So I can write this one 70 times -1. 70 times. Let me rewrite it. It should be 70 times -1. Right? And then let's separate them. It's going to be square root of 70 times square root of -1. Sometimes we are not able to simplify. Square root of 70, I can just keep it square root of 70. But I know this one, right? Square root of -1 was I. I'm going to put that I, and that's going to be my final answer. Alright, that's how I simplify them. That's how I write them as a complex number. So I want you to pause the video here and have a try those, everyone. Here, in the second part of this lesson, we have some multiplication and division questions. So how do we multiply them? How do we divide them? On this one, I'm going to do this. Let me calculate this one first. I'm going to calculate this and then I'm going to multiply them. So square root of -7. I can write like this, 7 times -1. And then separate them, square root of 7 times square root of -1. Oh, square root of 7 is just square root of 7 times, oh, I know this one, which was I, right? Let me put the I. I'm going to do the same thing here, which is the same as here. 7 times -1, right? Separate them, square root of 7, square root of -1. So it should be square root of 7 times I. So right now I'm good to go and multiply them. Okay. So that's my order. Write as a complex number, write as a complex number, and then multiply them. Square root of 7 should be square root of 49. And I times I should be I square. I know this one, square root of 49 was 7. And remember my rule, I square was, let's go back here, I square was -1. So I'm going to times -1. So it should be equal to -7. That's my final answer. Alright. So I'm going to do the same thing on B as well. Let me go here. So let's say, let me change my color. Let's do this, and then I'm going to multiply them. This one should be square root of 6 times -1, square root of 6 times square root of -1, square root of 6 times I. Same thing over here, 10 times -1, and separate them. Should be square root of 10 times I. So let's multiply them. So square root of 6 times square root of 10, square root of 60, times I should be I squared. So this one we can just leave it like this, square root of 60, but I squared was negative, so this one should be negative square root of 60. Okay, we can leave it like this, or you can put on calculator, you can see your final answer. Right, that's how we do. What if we see some division? How do we do so? Let me show you C and D. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do top part, I'm gonna do bottom part, and then I'm going to divide them. Like same as here, I'm gonna do top, I'm gonna do bottom, and then I will divide them. Let me do C first. Let me copy paste this. So C should be, let me do over here. This one can wait over here. So it's going to be 20 times square root of -1. So it's going to be okay, and then square root of 20 separate square root of -1. So it's going to be square root of 20 times I. That's my top part. Let's do the bottom part. So it should be square root of 2 times square root -1, separate them. So it should be square root of 2I. So I got the top part, which is over here, right? And I got the bottom part right now. So right now, let's divide them. So my top part should be 20I, like this, divided by, so as you see, these two will cancel each other. I divided by I cancel each other. Square root of 20 divided by square root of 2 should be square root of 10. That's my answer. Let's have a look at D right now. So we are done with C. Let's do this part. Let's do this part. Let's see what we got. So this one we can separate 48 times -1. Right, and then it's going to be 48 square root of -1, so it's going to be square root of 48 times I. But as you see, in bottom part is a positive, so we are fine with this one. I just take care of the top part. So divided by, so this top part divided by bottom square root of 24. So as you've seen, if I divide these two, square root of 48 divided by square root of 24 should be square root of 2, but this I can just stay here, and that's my answer. So answer should be square root of 2I. That's it. So again guys, so multiplication and division questions here. Please pause the video, have a try those please. Let's move on to next part of this lesson. So as you've seen, we are going to simplify this and write in standard form A plus BI. So let's simplify. That's the whole point. To do so, first of all, I should take care of this one first, everyone. Square root of -128. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to write like this, and then separate them. Square root of 128 times square root of -1. And this one is 128, as you know, is going to be 64 times 2, right? So I can write this as like square root of 64 is 8, but this 2 will stay inside square root of 2, and I know that square root of -1 was I. I'm gonna put I here. Okay, so like as you've seen, square root of -128 is equal to 8 square root of 2I. So I'm gonna take this and write into here, and then I'm going to simplify them. It's gonna look like this, everyone. So negative 8 plus 8 square root of 2i divided by 4. So I'm going to do this. Negative 8 divided by 4 plus 8 square root of 2i divided by 4. So let me divide the first part. Negative 8 divided by 4 should be negative 2. And this part, these two will cancel each other. I got 2 here. So 2 square root of 2i. Let me rewrite over here so we can see better. Negative 2 plus 2 square root of 2i. That's my final. Okay, let's move on, guys. It was a final answer. So as you've seen, those are your turn examples. Please pause the video and try those. And last part of this video, how do we add, how do we subtract complex numbers? So it's going to be like combine like terms basically. Let's have a look at this one first. So as you've seen, let's take care of real numbers first, like 3 plus negative 2. So it should be equal to 1. And then let's take care of those complex numbers right now. Negative 4i plus 6i. So it's going to be 2i. And that's my final answer. And I cannot go further. Now combine real numbers first, and then combine complex number, and that's it. But if we see a subtraction, it's a little bit different. I'm gonna write first one over here. It's fine. But if we see a negative, we should distribute first. Okay, distribute first. So it's gonna look like this: negative 6 and negative make positive 7i. So right now, let's take care of real numbers first. Negative 4 minus 6, it should be negative 10. And then let's take care of complex numbers. 3i plus 7i, so it should be equal to 10i, and that's my answer. Okay, combine like term, that's all. But if you see subtraction, make sure you distribute first. And here, please pause the video, have a try to solve those, everyone.